Here with this week's hottest stories in the investment world, this is Zach's Friday Finish Line.
Hello, and welcome back to the Zach's Friday Finish Line. My name is Ryan McQueeney. I'm an associate stock strategist here at Zach's, along with one of our editors, as always, Maddy Johnson.
Hello, today is Friday, January 11th, and we are here to recap this week's biggest stories from the investment and financial world. Stocks continued to bounce off their Christmas Eve lows this week as investors grew more and more confident with ongoing trade talks in Beijing and piled into newly discounted companies and indexes.
But of course, this was not spotless, as we had a few negative stories about over the past few days as well. Nevertheless, we're going to start with the good stuff, starting with some positives involving a few of our favorite and trendiest brands, some familiar names here. And one of those is Netflix.
Yeah, so Netflix did pretty well at the Golden Globes on Sunday.
Yes.
Which I watched. I watch every year because it's just a big party.
Yeah.
And all our favorite celebrities get drunk.
And this is like the first one, too, so this gives you a good indicator of, or maybe not, of where the rest of the award
this year,
season is
hopefully not.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest. Well, but Netflix. So Netflix stock surged almost 6% on Monday, just one day after the video streaming company took home several Globe Awards for its original programming. The Kaminsky Method, who I had never heard about.
No, I didn't
before watching the Globes.
Yeah.
So the thing with the Golden Globes is they tend to nominate and award shows in particular that have come out most recently.
Yeah.
So when Amazon's The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel first premiered, it got nominated and won literally like the day after it showed up on Amazon.
Yeah,
and everyone
yeah.
was like, what is, like,
I
who
just
are these
watched
people?
this.
Like,
no, the critics get screeners for these types of
yeah.
things.
So everyone is like, what is this? So that actually helped boost The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel into like Emmy's glory. And actually this year as well for the main actress, she won again. Jeff Bezos was there. Always.
He had a week.
Well, yes, he had a week, let me tell you. But back to Netflix. So the Kaminsky Method, Michael Douglas, Alan Arkin is in that show. So it won for Best Performance by an Actor in a TV series for Michael Douglas and Best TV Series Musical or Comedy. Oscar favorite Roma snagged wins for Best Director for Alfonso Cuarón and Best Motion Picture and for Foreign Language. So The Bodyguard, which is this BBC show that Netflix is now streaming. It's actually really good if you haven't seen it. Very intense, very suspenseful, and it stars our favorite Gone Too Soon Robb Stark from Game of Thrones.
Rest in peace.
It grabbed the 5th award for, I think, him as it was an acting award, I believe.
Kind of cheating because it's a BBC show, but it's published by Netflix outside of the UK and Ireland,
Yeah, well,
but counts.
It originally streams on the BBC, and then when it
goes abroad.
When it goes abroad, Netflix gets the rights.
Yeah, so somehow that means it's an award for Netflix. Also a win for BBC, though. So.
100% a win for BBC. So recognition at key award shows is definitely a sign that Netflix's content initiatives are, in fact, garnering critical acclaim. And definitely for Roma, Netflix has had a hard time, I think, breaking that...
art film barrier, they haven't had a ton of
the
artsy
Oscar barrier.
Yeah.
They were the first with House of Cards for like prestige TV and getting nominations for like the Emmys and the Globes, but they actually haven't won for best drama series. The Hulu was the first streaming platform to do that. But this is a good sign. And this is definitely a positive sign in the eyes of a lot of investors, even though it doesn't guarantee, of course, a direct financial benefit. Moreover,
it just feels like one of those things where the quantity is something that's good in the eyes of a lot of investors as they look to flesh out all their offerings, but it's nice to be reassured that there's also some quality in there as
and
well.
actually, I was watching this interview with Alfonso Cuarón, where he was, they all the winners give like press interviews. After they win, they go like behind the scenes and they talk to the journalist and the reporters, just like ask a few questions before they get to go back out and drink again. And this one guy was asking Cuarón, was like, well, do you think that something about Netflix is like diluting like the quality of the content, blah 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 blah. Basically, the whole argument that like the Academy has had with Netflix, to begin with, the whole problem. And Cuarón made a really good point about saying, well, how many theaters do you think or would show like a film in black and white, set in Mexico in the 1970s? About a maid. Like all of these things that
in Spanish.
All of these things that wouldn't necessarily play well in a traditional distribution format, where on Netflix anyone can see it.
And I guarantee, like, there's absolutely no doubt about it at all that this film reached a much wider audience than it would have with a traditional release like that. Because it was on Netflix from day one. And I also think the fact that they're getting some critical acclaim for it and that it's resonating with critics and audiences means Netflix will probably do more like that in the future, which is again getting back to the point of why investors would care about something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the flip side, you have Bird Box,
which is not very good.
Which is like not really good. It's entertaining, and like 45 million people watched it.
Yeah, and that's part of the meme culture. So you have the meme culture and the critics culture, and you're doing both well. That's a good sign.
Yeah, definitely. So Netflix's, say that fast twice, their successful Golden Globes campaign shined definitely in comparison to key rivals.
Yes.
Amazon, we mentioned earlier, they secured just 2 awards from its Prime Video contenders, whereas AT&T Time Warner's award show darling HBO managed only 1 lone win.
Down year for HBO. They're typically a pretty big Golden Globes and award show factor, but not so much this year.
I don't even know. Well, they're big. I think that was for Patricia Clarkson for Sharp Objects. Oh, poor Amy Adams. She just can't win. Netflix, though, is now up a staggering 37% since Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It's really bouncing back.
That's kind of the theme that we've seen recently. A lot of these trendy, still kind of gross stocks are back on the menu this week. Another one of them, also in the video streaming world, would you have it, a company called Roku.
Which you can also watch Netflix on.
Yes, definitely.
On a Roku device.
Roku skyrocketed 24% on Monday after it announced preliminary earnings results. The company said that the number of active accounts in the fourth quarter surged 40% year over year to reach 27 million. Moreover, total streaming hours in the period were up 68% to 7.3 billion. This was seen as strong growth on both ends, and it's perhaps even more encouraging that hours watched outpaced user gains, as it implies stronger engagement from the existing audience. This bullishness comes on the back of an announcement last week that the company is adding to its mobile Roku channel with subscriptions to premium channels such as Showtime, Starz, and Epix. The ability to subscribe to these premium channels from within actual Roku accounts and the mobile app underscores the company's hope that its own platforms will become go-to sources of user interaction. So no HBO still within Roku accounts. Of course, if you have a Roku device, there is a HBO app available on Roku. But what we're talking about is the ability to kind of have it all under one roof through your Roku account, subscribe to the premium channels, and have it right there. Have it on the Roku mobile app. You're getting Showtime, Starz, and Epix the end of this month. That's a good step forward.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. A lot of great content there.
And I think the play for Roku down the line is they want it to be not just people engaging more with it, but also have it be an option for advertising. So another internet content company wanting to do advertising.
Sure.
We're not shocked by this, but for investors, that's another revenue stream outside of the buying the device. So you like that, certainly. Thinking back on what Roku has been through in the past year, though, of course, the stock got off to a very hot start in 2018, running up more than 60% to its 52-week high. But a pair of disappointing earnings results later in the year and mounting competition caused quite the fall for the stock. At one point, just a few weeks ago, I believe at the Christmas week Christmas Eve market-wide bottom, Roku was about 65% off its highs, working to regain some of those losses this week with the preliminary results, and we'll see where it goes from here. I think that's enough video streaming company jazz, enough internet media. We're hungry for some
always hungry
for some food, hungry for some Chipotle always,
Yes.
obviously, on this show.
So we can theoretically stray away from any diets.
Yeah.
And talk about Chipotle.
Which, actually, we'll get to all sorts of New Year's Eve resolution style diets because Chipotle has come to the rescue this year.
Have they?
Yes, definitely, with some
So
menu innovation.
I can be on Whole30 and still go to Chipotle. Interesting. All right. So Chipotle, Burrito King, they continued its strong run this week. They added another 13% on the back of positive analyst reports. Notably, Chipotle on Monday saw an optimistic note from the folks at BTIG. The analyst team there labeled Chipotle as one of their top restaurant picks, citing catalysts such as, quote, menu innovation, digital sales growth, loyalty, menu pricing, and improving new unit economics, unquote. BTIG's bullishness was actually matched by another analyst report from KeyBank, which raised its price target for Chipotle shares to $525 from $500. This call represents a 21% premium to Chipotle's Friday close. KeyBank also suggested that its expectations for 2019 and 2020 same-store sales could end up looking muted if new CEO Brian Niccol can successfully deploy new strategies. Niccol was credited with leading Taco Bell's social media push. Oh yes, this is the Taco Bell guy, as well as mobile ordering and payments initiatives. Soon after taking over at Chipotle, he recruited former Taco Bell marketing guru Chris Brandt, who helped the fast food behemoth earn its reputation for zany dishes.
I believe that Chris Brandt was the guy who was in charge of the Doritos Locos Tacos.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not sure he thought of it, but you got to have the leader who says that's a great idea, we should do that. And
someone figured out how to do it.
These were the guys that were around when that happened at Taco Bell, aka one of the most iconic decisions in the history of fast food restaurant touring.
So how can you eat at Chipotle and still stay true to the Whole30 diet? Well, apparently they figured it out.
Enter.
An example of Chipotle's latest efforts to attract customers is its new lifestyle bowls.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that word bowl is very important. So,
because it's kind of what they're known for at this point.
They are known for bowls, but I feel like ordering a bowl for lunch over a salad is becoming a thing these days, as we saw when we ate. We went out to lunch for yesterday.
I had a bowl and it was basically a salad.
It was basically a salad, right?
Because it was warm. Is that the difference?
I think it's just adding a meat,
yes,
or protein. Excuse me,
a hot protein.
Because it doesn't have to be meat. It can be falafel or tofu or whatever.
Yes, of course. Or it could be whatever fits into very hyper-specific diet plans.
Exactly. So this menu offering is designed, so these lifestyle bowls are designed to appeal to those with specific diet plans, which are pretty much the fad diets, the fad diet plans right now. Paleo, keto, and of course Whole30.
Yes. So this is great because I think you could have already done this yourself. Okay,
so Tracy, our fellow Zaxateer, if you will, when she was on Whole30 last year, she just said that Chipotle was the only one of the few places she could actually go out to eat.
Yeah.
And still stick to the diet.
It is without a doubt a great place to go if you have any sort of dietary restriction. You can do vegetarian relatively easy.
Yes.
You can do vegan relatively easy at Chipotle, and
Yeah.
you can do gluten-free very easily. You could have probably figured out paleo, keto, and Whole30 yourself by just knowing what the ingredients have, but I think this is like you walk in or you see on the window,
It's just
like, oh,
easier
that,
now.
yeah, look at that. So, yeah. Also, perfect timing. This was probably something they thought about. Perfect timing. It's New Year's resolution season still. We're less than 2 weeks into the new year. People are still at least giving it their best shot on stuff like this.
Right.
And I feel like Whole30, especially January, is probably the most popular month to do Whole30.
Oh, it is. Many of my friends do it this month. And like, it's usually like around day, what is it? I don't know.
We're
Between,
getting
like,
there.
Day 7 through day 10.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel
We're
like
right
it's
in the middle of it.
the hardest of the diet.
And then you got to get over the hump, and then it's like,
And
you
then
don't even think
then
about
you're
it.
like then you're good. You're used to the no sugar. You're used to the limited selection. You're eating sweet potatoes a lot. I could never do it because I could never give up bread.
But as we were saying,
I mean,
I
if I'm
agree.
being completely honest.
I could never give up alcohol. So you can't drink for a whole month. That's challenging for me.
That's challenging.
And the sugar. I mean, you've seen me go through these Pez. Someone in our office laid down a bunch of Pez
Yeah,
last
you've been
week.
eating those like crazy.
They're all gone now, and it's because I ate every single one of them. But
Just have to switch to fruit.
yeah,
Sugar of the earth.
I'll get right on that. But no, I mean, I think this is great idea, and it's type of thing exactly that you would expect from people that came from Taco Bell, because clearly, and we talked about this when they hired Brian Nichol last year, they're not going to be able to do Fritos in a burrito and Doritos Locos Tacos and fiery volcano bean burritos and stuff like that. Crazy stuff, coming up with things every week, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work at Chipotle, but things like this do work, and I feel like it still comes from the same place. Rethinking what you're already doing, and thinking of a different way to brand it, and have a very targeted audience in mind that you want to come in and eat this. And I haven't.
And
I
that'll
haven't
work
had
for anyone, whether you're on Whole30 or following the keto diet
The
or
other
whatever.
ones.
A lot of people just want to eat healthier this month,
Yeah,
and if a lifestyle bowl will cater to those people.
there you go. So we'll see now. I think they're out as of the new year, and I guess go check it out if you want to.
Yeah,
lifestyle
absolutely.
bowl. But other than that, Chipotle doing very well in the past few weeks. However, we did, and this was the negatives. This was the mixed stuff I had hinted at the top of the episode. As much as it was a fun week for the trendy and the popular, it was not so fun for, especially later in the week, for the retailers. Thursday especially marked a bit of a reckoning day for folks who hoped that mall-based retailers would be preparing to post blowout holiday quarters here over the next few weeks. Macy's on Thursday said that same-store sales were up just 1.1% during the holiday quarter, I think November and December specifically, and that led the company to cut its sales and profit guidance for fiscal 2018. According to management, Macy's saw an impressive Black Friday, but that activity, quote, weakened in the mid-December period and did not return to expected patterns until the week of Christmas, end quote. An interesting quote there. Maybe we can speculate more on that in a second. Management at Macy's also noted that it did not sell as much women's sportswear, sleepwear, fashion, jewelry, fashion watches, and cosmetics as expected. So some underperformance and some interesting segments there. And it's kind of the same thing goes over at L Brands, which has really struggled more so than these others that we're mentioning in recent years. That's the owner of Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body Works, and Pink. L Brands said that sales for the 5-week period ended January 5th totaled $2.48 billion. That was actually down year over year. Comparable store sales in that stretch were flat, not what investors liked to hear. And this was also paired with a guidance holiday sales results from Kohl's on Thursday. A little bit better than these two. Said 2018 holiday same-store sales rose 1.2%, excuse me. That was compared to growth of 7% last year. So, 1.2% doesn't sound so great, but when you compare it to, that was kind of the tone that management said too. They said, hey, what do you expect from us? We just had the CEO, Michelle Glass, said, quote, it was a very strong holiday on top of last year's exceptional holiday season. So it was kind of like throwing your hands up and going like, I mean, look at the comparison. How much better do you think we can do every year? So the tone, I think, from Kohl's was a little bit better than Macy's and L Brands. Kohl's raised its profit outlook, for example, whereas Macy's was guiding down. Kohl's still open quite a bit lower on Thursday. All of these stocks sold off a bit on Thursday. And it raises some questions about what we know about the holiday shopping period and what companies were able to capitalize on the holiday shopping period. It was a historic holiday shopping period. The overall sales beat estimates. So we looked at basically 5%-ish growth year over year overall. A lot of the things that we talked about when we reviewed the Turkey 5, if you will, the historic parts of it were online sales. It was the busiest Turkey 5 for online sales. So that makes me wonder, maybe did a Macy's and an L Brands just not position themselves or just get unlucky and not benefit from that online stuff?
Well, I feel like this quote from Macy's management. So they saw an impressive Black Friday, but activity weakened in mid-December. They didn't return and didn't return to expected patterns until the week of Christmas. I feel like that is how most people shop during the holidays.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
So that's not totally surprising. And if you don't have a great in-store experience, as I don't know when the last time you were in a Victoria's Secret.
Never in my well, I have been in one. I've never bought anything though.
Victoria's Secret isn't L Brands' top performing brand. I think that actually goes to Bath and Body Works. But that's totally...
I've been in one of those multiple times. I love a Bath and Body Works.
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers, and this could be me just totally pulling it out of thin air. But I think Bath and Body Works has actually performed better than Victoria's Secret.
I think the comps performance that they said Bath and Body Works did definitely was better than Victoria's Secret in terms of comps. I don't know what the total revenue breakup is, but yeah. Yeah.
So, overall, promotions are going to be good on Black Friday, during the Turkey 5, in online and in store, and they're not going to be that great.
Yeah.
Until the week of Christmas.
Yeah.
So smart shoppers are going to shop during those 2 days or those 2 time periods. I mean,
yeah, and I don't know necessarily what they were expecting and how this missed those expectations. I am reading that as we had a good Turkey 5 and a good Christmas Eve week, basically. But other than that, it was kind of ho-hum. And I would extend this out and say, I think the feeling on Thursday was definitely like, oh, God, sell all the retail stocks, which we've already been selling for 3 months. A lot of these stocks are well off their highs. But for me, it says potentially there's a storyline somewhere under the surface here where other companies were able to capture the sales that we know happened. We know total sales were up 5%. So where did those sales go to? And I don't want to just fall on the obvious here, but it seems like this almost sounds like good news for Amazon because it feels like...
Yeah, but it's also, what are people buying?
Yeah, and it's interesting to know that the management at Macy's said women's sportswear, sleepwear, fashion jewelry, fashion watches, and cosmetics down. Or do you think those are Amazonable things? Are they more Amazonable than they were last year? Maybe something like a cosmetics and a watches.
I mean, in my opinion, no.
Jewelry doesn't seem like something that would be an Amazon thing or bet more so than Macy's. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, for me, lingerie, all of my peers, they don't go to Victoria's Secret. They go to companies that are heavily promoted on Instagram.
Yeah. So
They go-
does
It's
on trend? So it's an on
It's-
trend thing.
it's companies like Third Love.
Yeah.
It's companies like Savage by Fenty.
Yeah.
Which is Rihanna's line.
I know.
Oh,
I know. My
oh, you
Fenty.
know.
I know.
Oh,
my
you know.
Fenty.
Which is also cosmetics.
Yeah,
Fenty
yeah, yeah.
Beauty. So, and you can say the same thing about Kylie Cosmetics or
Yeah.
KKW Beauty, which is, anyways. But so, I mean, none of these brands are what is like, I feel like working in the Instagram world of
Really
retail.
popping off right now and this year, which is
And right now.
which is a matter of being on trend, which is something that we talk about. You have to talk about every season, every year with these retail companies, and if you miss it, if you didn't
Right.
order well, if you didn't
And
market
that's not
well,
to
you
say
missed
that
it.
like Macy's isn't still a bellwether
Right.
of the retail industry. It still is. I think it still has a huge influence on it, just like Nordstrom does. Just like, God, those two are it for department stores.
Yeah, it's
Kohl's
right
still
around
is
there.
the department stores, but
J.C.
like
Penney.
they still have huge sway on like
Yeah.
on I guess like the telltale signs of like what the customer is doing. But they aren't the drivers anymore, really.
Yeah.
It's the up and coming brands that are showing up in your Instagram stories, that are
Yeah.
showing up in your feed, that are showing up on. It's not just Instagram either. It could be Twitter.
Yeah.
It could be those dumb sponsored content
Yeah.
from your favorite celebrity. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not these guys.
Yeah, and so
So this doesn't say to me that retail is doomed.
no, it's I think you're absolutely right. Is that the growth is coming from somewhere else, and so the question I think investors would have to ask themselves is where and how can we capitalize on that? Is it somewhere? Is it better to go with the specialty stores, the specialty retailers? Like if people aren't coming to Macy's for their women's sportswear, is that because they're going to Lululemon and that's where the real activity is? We won't know for sure until we get more of these guidance issuances.
We probably won't know for a few months.
Yeah. We'll get these reports. This will be at the tail end of an earnings season that hasn't even started yet.
Right.
So, but yeah, I guess if anything, we know that the mall-based old school brick and mortars maybe didn't capitalize on what was a good holiday shopping season as much as they would have hoped. And we'll see when those reports come out who did, whether it's a Lululemon or just Amazon. It could. I mean, maybe that's the answer. Maybe it was just another Amazon year.
And
I
that's totally
did
fine.
95% of my Christmas shopping on Amazon. So
What I got my mom's gift on Amazon. I got my dad's gift in store. I got my brother's. No, I just got one thing on Amazon.
yeah, I tell you what, I did most of it on Amazon, and it was quite nice because they put it in a box, makes it easier for me to wrap for it. It's just wonderful.
True.
Anyway,
True.
that's a little insight onto my laziness in the Christmas season. But anyway, I think that does it. Just to recap, good week for Netflix, Roku, Chipotle. Not so good week for Macy's, Kohl's, L Brands, and some of the other mall-based department stores. We'll see where the trade talks wind up. We'll see where the government shutdown winds up. We'll see where the Brexit drama winds up. All things we've been keeping our eyes on.
Can't wait
now
for more memes of Chuck and Nancy.
It was a great week for meme culture too. Anyway, if you thought we missed anything, shoot us an email at podcast@zax.com. If you would like to check out all of our other exclusive audio content, including the aforementioned Tracy Reineck's multiple podcasts,
Yes.
check them out at zax.com
Value investor.
check them out at zax.com/podcasts. Great one about the marijuana stocks this week from Tracy, featuring
Yes.
Zach Dredis, Dave Boren. Check that one out.
And just FYI, they did not mention Afria.
Yeah.
So, going, full disclosure.
Remember to subscribe to our show and all of our shows and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts if you enjoyed the show. If you didn't and you're going to leave a 1-star rating, actually, forget I even mentioned anything about ratings. But we're also available on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Spotify if you prefer to get your podcasts elsewhere. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Zach's Friday Finish Line.